بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. وقال الله تعالى: ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. وقال الله تعالى: الذين يذكرون قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. وقال الله تعالى: اذكرني واذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون. وقال الله تعالى: أقيم الصلاة لذكري. وقال الله تعالى: وما هو إلا ذكر للعالمين. وقال الله تعالى: إنا نحن نزلنا ذكرا وإنا له لحافظون. If you read the Quran from the starting until the end, we find the word in the Quran, the Dhikr. So many times you will see the word Dhikr. All around the Quran you will find the word Dhikr. And also in the saying of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, you always find the word Dhikr, which is Arabic word. In English, the more or less meaning of that is remember. In my language, in Urdu, the Dhikr is the same Dhikr also, in Urdu language. But in English, the equivalent of the Dhikr is remembrance. Or in Tagalog, with my knowledge, alalahin. Alalahin. And if you can explain the word Dhikr or Zikrullah, the remembrance of Allah, alalahin tayo ng Allah lagi. We have to remember Allah all the life. The first ayah which I read, this ayah has a big solution for the mankind. Because in the world today, the millions of people, the millions and millions of people, not only millions of people, more than in billions of people, they are depressed. They have a problem with anxiety, no sleeping, not feeling good, no satisfaction, no tranquility, no peace in the heart. That is the biggest problem in the world today. If somebody says the biggest problem is the poverty, I do not agree. I object. The poverty is not the biggest problem. Because if the poverty is the biggest problem, then most of the people in the world, they must suicide because of the poverty. But that's not the case. Not the most of the people are committing suicide because of the poverty. Rather, they are committing suicide because of the depression. So the biggest problem in the world today is not the poverty. The people, they thought that the biggest problem today we have is poverty. And of course, the poverty is a very big problem because of the wrong system, because of the capitalism. The communism cannot solve the problem, and the capitalism cannot solve the problem also. So you can see today, the 14% people of the world, 14% people of the world today, they are holding the 86% resources of the world. And 86% population of the world, they have only 14% resources in their hands. Injustice system of capitalism, in which is not our topic here. It's a very big topic which we can discuss it next time, inshallah. So poverty is a big problem also, but not the biggest problem in the world today. The biggest problem in the world today is a heart problem. And it's not the heart problem, physical heart problem, it's spiritually heart problem. People are not feeling happy, not feeling comfortable, no peace in the heart, feel uncomfortable. And the solution is sukoon, tranquility, calmness, peace in the heart. You call in Tagalog tahimik ang puso. You need to have a peaceful heart. That is the biggest problem in the world today. The people, they want to solve. For example, just because of the drugs, the overusing of the drugs, only in Europe and America, like in USA, 7 million people, they are victim of the overuse of drugs, the legal drugs. They buy it in the drug stores. 7 million people are the victim of overuse of drugs every year. The same number in Europe. The highest number of the suicide in the world is not in Africa, not in the Philippines, not in Indonesia, not in the so-called, they call it the third world countries, no, not in the poor countries. The highest rate of suicide in the world, one of the countries is Japan. The Japan has a very high rate of suicide. But if you see the Japan is look like a very rich country. The people all around the world, they go and work in Japan. So if the money can solve the problem, then the people in Japan, they should not make suicide. The people, they are mostly go to the window. They go to the window, then they jump. The easiest way to suicide. You don't need to shoot yourself. You don't need to cut your wrist. You don't need to take poison and to die with pain. The easiest way, the people, they commit suicide in Japan, they go to the high-rise building and they jump from the building. That's why nowadays the building in Japan, they are without windows anymore. No windows. There are windows only for the light, but you cannot open the windows because of the high rate of suicide through the windows. So money is not the solution, and the poverty is not the biggest problem. The biggest problem in the world today is the problem of depression, anxiety, worries. When somebody asked to Ali radiallahu anhu, what is the Ali asked, what is the biggest thing? What is the strongest thing? Ano yung malakas na bagay? The Ali answered, see, the mountain is very strong because they are big mountains. But there is something stronger than the mountain, that is iron, bakal. Iron is very strong because iron can cut the mountains. And he said there is something stronger than the iron, and that is the fire, because fire can melt the iron. So fire is stronger. But there is something stronger than the fire, and that is the water, because water can extinguish the fire. But there is something stronger than the fire. And what is it? The clouds. The clouds are carrying the millions of tons of water, and they can bring it wherever Allah wants to bring those water. So clouds are very strong because they can carry the water. But the air is more stronger. The air is more stronger because the air can move the clouds. The air can move the clouds with this millions of tons of water. The air can move them by the will of Allah. So air is very strong thing. But the same air, which is very strong, if a man walks on his feet, the air cannot move that man. Man is very strong. Because man is walking on his feet firm, that air can move clouds with water, millions of tons of water, but that air cannot move the man because man is walking firm on his feet. But if the same man is drunk, he drinks lots of alcohol, lasing. Now that same man who cannot be moved by the air, the strong air, the wind, but that man cannot stand on his feet anymore because of the influence by the alcohol. So alcohol is very strong thing. It's strong in evil. Not necessarily that you are strong in positive, you can be strong in negative. But still the alcohol is something, a strong thing, which can move the person lose his mind, the person cannot walk on his feet, he can sleep on the garbage because he's influenced by the alcohol. But the same alcohol, which is very strong, when affect the man, but when the man sleep, and when he wakes up in the morning, the alcohol is no more. Alcohol is lost. The effect of alcohol is gone because of the sleeping. The sleeping is something very strong. When you sleep, you can get well. And Ali said, what is stronger than the sleeping? What is stronger than the sleep? He said, the stronger than the sleep is anxiety. Anxiety. Depression. When you are anxious, when you are depressed, you cannot sleep anymore. So he said, the anxiety, the depression is stronger than sleeping. And what can destroy the anxiety and what can eliminate the depression? The Ali said, the zikrullah, the remembrance of Allah. If you remember Allah, no more anxiety. You will feel good. What we need today, all of us here, we need to remember Allah. Too much. Otherwise, one of us will be victim of depression tonight or tomorrow or maybe this afternoon. And once you become the victim of a depression, that is the biggest problem, you got it already. Do not stop remembering Allah any moment of your life, because Allah already said in the Quran, Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innal qulub. No doubt, surely only with the remembrance of Allah the hearts can get tranquility, peace. Only with the remembrance of Allah. Not with the money, not with the music, not with the drugs, not with alcohol, not with disco, not with movies or media or television or cinema or anything else. Do yourself what you like it. Do your best to relieve your depression. Do and go the fornication. Make the girlfriends. Drink the alcohol. Take the drugs, legal or illegal drugs. The drugs you can buy from the drugstore or you can buy illegally drugs, like heroin or cocaine. Do your best. But Allah said you cannot get the good heart. You cannot get the peace in your heart. No tranquility in the heart, except only with one thing, remembrance of Allah. Once you remember Allah, your heart becomes peaceful. And there is no other solution for that. So biggest problem in the world, the depression, the anxiety, the solution is to remembrance of Allah. And the remembrance of Allah have a different kinds. So many kinds of remembrance of Allah. If we eat the food and we say Bismillah, we are hungry but we do not forget Allah. Because sometimes you are hungry, you forget Bismillah, you just eat immediately. But we have to remember Allah before we eat Bismillah in the name of Allah, because Allah gave me that food. When you finish the food, we say Alhamdulillah alladhi ata'mana wa saqana wa ja'alna min al-muslimin. All praise be to Allah who feed us and who drink us and who make us among the Muslimin, means those who submit to the command of Allah. When we sleep, we say Bismillah. When we wake up, we say Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana ba'da ma matina wa ilayhi nushur. All praises be to Allah, thanks to Allah who raised us to the life after we were dead. Because when you sleep, you are dead, half dead. So we wake up, we thanks to Allah. We go outside the house, we say Bismillah tawakkaltu ala Allah. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. In the name of Allah, we trust upon Allah, and there is no power to do the good, and there is no power to be avoid from the evil except by the help of Allah. Remember Allah. Write the card, Bismillah subhanalladhi sakhara lana hada wa ma kunna lahu muqrinin wa inna la rabbina lamunqalibun. Remember Allah. Do not forget Allah. You are doing the business. And now the shaitan tells you, just tell a lie so you get the deal. Because the person is not agreeing to buy from you. So just make a lie now. The devil tells you, now you remember Allah. No. Allah said, don't tell the lie. Allah said in the Quran, La'natullahi alal kadhibin. The curse of Allah upon the liars. Curse of Allah upon the liars. When the people asked the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, can a believer, can he be a coward? Prophet said, yes, a believer can be a coward because he's like that. And he's trying to fight against his cowardness. They asked to Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam the more or less meaning of the hadith. Can a believer, can he be a bakhil, a niggard, stingy? Kuripot in Tagalog. Or the coward in Tagalog is duwag. Can a believer, can he be a coward? The next is, can a believer, can he be a niggard, stingy? The one who don't want to spend his money, he want to hold his money to help people. But he is doing something, that at least obligation to be a believer. Prophet ﷺ said, yes, a believer, can he be a niggard, bakhil, stingy? The third question, the people asked to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, can a believer, can he be a liar? O Prophet of Allah, can a believer, he be a liar? He likes to tell a lie to the people. The Prophet ﷺ said, la, no, a believer cannot be a liar. The dirty sin, a filthy sin, which makes you a dirty and filthy person, telling a lie. Do not speak the lie. If you remember Allah, do not speak the lie. When you do business, don't cheat people. Don't sell the pirated things. Don't sell the pornographies. Do not cheat people. Prophet Muhammad give the three major signs of a munafiq. Munafiq is hypocrite. And the meaning of hypocrite is a person said, I am a believer, but in his heart there is no belief. In his heart he is a disbeliever. But he says to the people that I am a believer. Amanna billahi wa ma hum bimu'minin. They say we believe in Allah, and in the last day, wa ma hum bimu'minin, they are not believers. But we cannot judge anybody. I cannot say this one or this one is a munafiq or hypocrite. I cannot say that. Because only Allah knows in the hearts. We can only judge people with the words and with actions. If somebody is saying a disbelief, I can say he's a disbeliever. And if somebody is worshipping idols or doing committing any disbelief, I can say he's a disbeliever based on my observation of his words and his actions. We cannot judge anybody on his heart. If somebody comes here, a non-Muslim, he says, I am Muslim, I say, La ilaha illallah, I have no reason to doubt him. And if I doubt him, I become a disbeliever now. Because he says, I'm a believer, I believe he's a believer. Some people, some Muslims say, maybe he become Muslim only for showing off, maybe he wants some benefits. That is a disbelief. You cannot do that, because we do not know the hearts. The Prophet cannot say that he is munafiq. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has no knowledge of the munafiq unless Allah send the list. Allah send the Jibril, said this one, these are the munafiq. Unless the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam cannot decide who is the munafiq. But we got the signs. We have the signs of the munafiqs told by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The three major signs. A person, whenever he speaks a lie. Whenever he promises, he always breaks his promise. And whenever you trust him, he always betrays you. Three major signs of munafiq. Try to analyze. If you have any of this, then you have to be fearful for that. You have to do something for that. If any of this you have, then do the remedy now, because you might die as a munafiq. You might die as a hypocrite. Kailan siya na magsalita, lagi siya na sinungaling. Kailan siya na pangako, lagi siya hindi tupad. At kailan siya natiwala sa kaniyang tao, laging siyang trador. You always cheat people. Loko-loko. Not believer. Why? Because Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Man khana falaysa minna. Whoever cheat, he's not among us. He's not with our people. He's out of us. If you are not among the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his people, then you are what? You are a disbeliever. Because you're cheating people. Do not kill people. Allah said in the Quran that killing a one innocent human being, a civilian, a human being, even he is a Muslim or a non-Muslim, a Muslim or Christian or Jew or a Buddhist or a Hindu or even atheist, if you can't kill one human being, innocent human being, Allah said in the Quran, you kill whole mankind. Kung patayin mo na isang inosente, para ka nang patay ka na buong sangkatauhan. You kill all human being. So if you remember Allah, you will not do this. And if you save the life of one human being, the same ayah, you save the life of whole mankind. So if you are a doctor and if your patient have no money, do not ask money. Just treat him for the sake of Allah. And if you let him die, then you are not a doctor. You are a murderer. You are a killer. For me, in Philippines, there must be the law. Because it's happening in the hospitals. If you go to the hospital and your patient is dying, and you go to the hospital and if you do not have the 5,000 pesos deposit, your patient will die. You cannot get admission in the hospital. Many hospitals happening like this. The person is dying outside the hospital because they have no money to pay 5,000. They are just struggling to get 5,000. So this 5,000 is responsible to kill a human being. What should be the law in the Philippines? If a doctor did that, he let his patient to die because the patient has no money, that doctor must put to death penalty. So no doctor will do that again. That must be the law. Because this doctor, he's a doctor. And he should have a vow to Allah that I will save my patients even they have no money to pay me. So remembering Allah has a different ways. Different ways. Some people, they thought the remembrance of Allah is just with the words. It's not right. You always say la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, but you believe you have nothing. You cheat people. You hurt people. You kill people. You lie. You go and get the loan from the bank on interest, which is a very big sin. Consider as making war with Allah and His Messenger. But it still is very important that you remember Allah with your words. And not only a moment. Allah said in the Quran, Zikran kathira. Zikr Allah too much. Always remember Allah. But with understanding. For example, the ayah I read, Surah Al-Imran, الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ. Those who remember Allah is standing, sitting down, and lying down on their sides. They remember Allah. When you lie down, you remember Allah. Allah, thanks to you. Thanks for your life you gave to me. Thanks for the blessings you gave to me. Thanking Allah is one of the remembrance of Allah. يَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. They think about the creation of the heavens and the earth. They think about the creation of the universe. About the human, animal. Thinking how Allah created this. A human being are made from two cells. One cell from the father, one cell from the mother. One tiny cell, Allah made this human being. Manufactured it. What is a human compared to a robot? Robot is nothing. Robot is a program. And so ugly compared to human being. Even one human cell, in every body, there are more than 100 trillion cells. And one human cell, if you see it with the microscope, not ordinary microscope, the highly magnified microscope, which can magnify thousands of million times, billions of times. And when you see inside that tiny cell which you cannot see with the naked eye, you will find out that cell has a big city, bigger than the New York City, bigger than the Manila city, bigger than Karachi, a big city inside with refineries, with electric generations, a big city inside the human cell. And in every human cell, there is a nucleus in the center. And inside the nucleus, there is a DNA, the information. And the DNA contains, that small cell, the DNA, that contains the information more than the 1,000 encyclopedias. More than 1,000 encyclopedias. Nothing this terabyte or gigabyte is nothing. compared to the memory inside one human cell. And who manufactured it? A great scientist said, the God is the great mathematician. God is the great artist. This is remembrance of Allah. Think about the creation of Allah and increase the remembrance of Allah. Increase your faith. How Allah created this, how Allah created this, how Allah created. How big is the universe? Think about this. يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. They think about the creation of Allah. Creation of the heavens and the earth. About universe. How big is the universe? Only the estimate of the scientist, the astronomist. You have to travel in the universe not with the speed of the car or motorcycle or the airplane, no. Not even the speed of the jet fighter, but with the speed of the light, which is 300,000 kilometers per second. Per second means in 1 minute 300,000 times multiplied by 60, and in 1 hour multiplied by another 60. If 1 day multiplied by 24 hours, and in 1 day multiplied by 365. How many estimate of a year? The scientists, they call it 1 light year. So if you travel in the universe for 93 billion years, 93 billion years, with the speed of the light, which is 300,000 kilometers per second, that is the size of the universe. How big is the universe? Our planet Earth, a giant planet for us, is a very, very small body in the universe. Nothing. Our whole planet Earth, on which we are riding now, and which is revolving in the orbit for 100,000 kilometers per hour, and that planet Earth is a very small body in the universe. Because in our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, the name given by the scientists, in which we have a solar system with the 9 planets, with the sun and moon. In our galaxy, we have more than 300 billion stars. Can you imagine? 300 billion stars. And there are stars which are millions of times bigger than our Earth. The stars, millions of times bigger than our Earth. And there are 300 billion stars in our galaxy. And how many galaxies in the universe? There are more than 300 billion galaxies, estimated only. 300 billion galaxies. The sun is 90 million away from us, and which can burn us. And then the temperature of the sun is millions of degrees centigrade. Millions of degrees centigrade. The water can boil with 100 degrees centigrade. The metal can be, the iron can be melted on 1,000 or 2,000 degrees centigrade. But the temperature of the sun is millions of degrees centigrade, and which is 9 or 90 million away from us, and it still can burn us, can destroy us. And without sunlight we cannot live also. So think about the creation of Allah that can increase our faith in Allah. For example, you can see here in the masjid, if you can see here, the electric connection is not 100. Hindi lampas ng 100. The electric connection with electric fans, lights, just 100. Just think there's 100 connections here. How many connections? 100 connections in this masjid. And ask to the electrician how they work for that. Day and night, morning and evening. They have to work every day for several days to make those connections here. And can you imagine the one human being like me or all of you? We have a 100 billion, not 100, 100 billion neurons in our brain connected to our body. And we get the signals from our body. If I touch something, the signal goes to my brain and my brain interprets what I touch. If I see something, the signals will go from my eyes to the brain, and the brain will interpret what I'm seeing now. 100 billion neurons, or madaling salita, or easy to explain, I have a 100 billion electric connections in my brain. 100 billion electric connection in my brain connected to whole my body. Who make these 100 billion connections in my brain? So Allah is telling us to think about the creation of Allah. And what they did by the Muslims before Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they read the Quran, they started to research, because Allah said that in the Quran, to research about the creation. So you will find out in the early years, 1,000 years ago, the 1,200 years ago, the Muslim scientists were only the scientists in the world. Like Jabir bin Hayyan, the father of chemistry, Abul Qasim in Spain, the father of surgery, and all the other scientists which you can go, Abdul Haytham, Abbas ibn Farnas, the one who first made 1,000 years ago who fly. He put the wings of the ostrich and he put the mechanism on his body, then he go to the highest minaret in Baghdad, then he jump and he showed to the people that man can fly. 1,000 years ago, before the Wright brothers. Because Wright brothers are just 100 years ago. Because Allah said in the Quran, think about the creation of Allah. That is the way you remember Allah. Like Jabir bin Hayyan, 1,000 years ago, the Muslim scientist, he innovated the 200 chemicals, which is still used in the modern world today. And the three of those are the acids: hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid. Innovated by a Muslim scientist, Jabir bin Hayyan. Abul Qasim in Spain, in Andalus, a father of surgery known as, he innovated the 200 surgical instruments 1,000 years ago. And those 200 surgical instruments are still using in the modern hospitals. Because they learned from the Quran. The Quran is telling us to think about the creation of Allah. Research. Do not be blind. The people who is not thinking, Allah called them summun bukmun umyun fahum la yarjun. They are dead, deaf, dumb and blind. They will not return to the right way. We have to think. If you are alim in Islam, if you are knowledgeable in Islam, you should be as a scientist. You should have the knowledge of science. Because the Quran is full of science. Quran talks about the universe, about the human creation, about the animal creation, about the economics, about the sociology, about the history, about the archaeology. The Quran has all those subjects inside the Quran. All the knowledge is in the Quran. So remembering Allah is also to thinking about the creation of Allah. The two best times that we have to sit down and to remember Allah devotedly, two best times: after Fajr and after Maghrib. Whatever you have to do, between that time you can do everything. After Fajr we sit down, Salatul Fajr, the best time to remember Allah. Sit down, the best of the Dhikr, remembrance of Allah, La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Make it 100 times in Fajr time, 100 times after Maghrib. Sit down, close your eyes or open your eyes, forget everything of the world, and you and your God. Only Allah and you. Remember Allah. And try to ponder, what are you saying? La ilaha illallah. There is no God except Allah. There is no one worthy to be worshipped except Allah. There is no one to whom I am slave except Allah. Allah is my master. No one is my master except Allah. No one is my Lord except Allah. No one is feeding me except Allah. No one is providing me except Allah. No one can give me the profit and loss except Allah. By the help of Allah, by the will of Allah. No one can harm me and no one can profit me except by the will of Allah. If Allah want me to harm with the mosquito can kill me by the will of Allah. And if Allah want me to save, even the atom bomb cannot kill me. Even the atom bomb cannot kill me because Allah want me to save. And we see that this kind of example. The people, when they crashed the airplane, everybody died but one person alive, because Allah want that person to believe. No one has the right to be worshipped except Allah. No one has controlling our life and death except Allah. No need to fear people. No need to fear anybody. Just fear Allah. A man was asked, what is the name of Allah you like most? Like some people say, Ar-Rahman, the gracious, Ar-Rahim, the merciful, Al-Malik, the sovereign, the king, Al-Quddus, the holy. The man answered, I like the name very much, which I want to remember all the time. He said, Al-Mumit. Al-Mumit, the one who gives the death. He said, why do you like that name very much? He said, whenever I remember this, it makes me strong. I do not fear anybody. Because people has no power to kill me or to give me the death. It's only Allah who decide that when should I die. So that name is giving me strength. I do not fear anybody. So remembering Allah 2 times, Fajr and after Maghrib. La ilaha illallah 100 times. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Afzalu zikru la ilaha illallah." The best of the remembrance of Allah is La ilaha illallah. The next important zikr, Astaghfirullah. Oh Allah, forgive me. After Fajr, after Maghrib, Astaghfirullah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was making Astaghfar 70, morning, evening. So we are the most sinner people, so we should ask Allah, forgive us morning and evening. And we have to make it regularly. Fajr, after Fajr and after Maghrib. Sit down and give yourself devoted to Allah and remember Allah exclusively. Without thinking anything. Subhanallahi wa bihamdi, Subhanallahi al-Azim. And of course, after every salah, 33 times Subhanallah, 33 times Alhamdulillah, and 33 times Allahu Akbar. And La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. No God except Allah. He's only one, no partner for Him. For Him is the kingdom, and for Him all the praises, and He has power over everything. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi alladhi nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi. ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وقال الله تعالى الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أفضل ذكر لا إله إلا الله وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من قال لا إله إلا الله دخل الجنة. Now we are living in the trials, world of trials. We all are on hit list of shaitan. Devil is with us. And our desire can misguide us. So now either you become the victim of the devil, shaitan, or either you make yourself protected with Allah. An example, one of the important things, the bottom line, very important thing here, which is not related to the topic. Very important thing here for all of us to remember. Do not be free yourself. Do not be free yourself. And do not be free yourself. Busy yourself. A person is sitting down and thinking something, he is the victim of shaitan now. He is going to be attacked by the shaitan because he has nothing to do. No work, no business, no job, nothing. Only sitting down, not remembering Allah also. At least you are not doing anything. Now you continue to remember Allah. Do not make yourself victim of shaitan, of devil. Make yourself busy. The disease is like, for example, one of the worst disease in the world today. Pinaka masamang disease sa mundo na yon. The worst kind of disease in the world today. In which the people are cut their hands, their feet are cut, and they die with very terrible death. Diabetics. And people thought that you get diabetics because of eating sugar. It is a myth. It's not because of sugar you get diabetics. The people eating day and night sweet and they don't get any diabetics. They get only fat. They get more and more fat. Because their metabolism is digesting everything. The sugar is not increasing in the blood. The diabetics, the main cause of the diabetics is not the overeating of sugar. That's not the main reason. The main reason is your worries. Your anxiety, your thinking. Your too much worries makes you weak and you get diabetics. The people who are working always, they are healthy. Once they stop working, just stand by, sitting down, no work, they are going to get this disease. Once, as long as you work hard, you go around, you busy yourself, you will not get this disease. You will get disease when you are sitting down and worries and thinking and anxiety. And you are not getting the solution, the remembrance of Allah. Remember Allah and you get rid of that anxiety. Do not make yourself free, busy yourself, and remember Allah. Allah said in the Quran, الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ. Those who remember Allah standing, sitting down, and lying down. Nothing left now. 24 hours. When you are standing, you are walking also. You are standing like I am standing now. Now I am remembering Allah because I am talking about Allah. Allah said in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu iza nudiya lis-salati min yawmil jum'ati fas'au ila dhikrillah. Fas'au ila dhikrillah. What are you doing here now? We are doing the remembrance of Allah here. Because you come on the day of Jummah Friday for the zikr of Allah. Allah said in the Quran, Aqimu salat li dhikri. Establish the salah the 5 times for my remembrance. So salah is also remembrance of Allah. Remembering Allah is standing, sitting down and lying down. When you lie down, remember Allah. When you're standing, remember Allah. When you sit down, remember Allah. Do not stop remembering Allah. Now somebody give you the money, overpayment. 10,000, 100,000, a million. And if you remember Allah, that is haram for me, you will return it, remembrance of Allah. But these are the involuntary remembrance of Allah, which you have to do it. But there are some voluntarily remembrance of Allah that you sit down or while standing or lying down or driving a car or doing your business or your work. Remember Allah with your words. Remember Allah with your hearts. Not necessarily that you remember Allah in Arabic. You can remember Allah in English, in Tagalog, in Bisaya, in Japanese, in Chinese, in Urdu. Remember Allah as long as whatever language. And not only with the words, remember Allah with our hearts. Remember Allah. Even the Quran, Allah give the name of the Quran. The one of the name of the Quran is Dhikr. وَمَا هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. It is nothing but the Dhikr for the all mankind. Remembrance for all mankind. And one of the beautiful ayah of the Quran was Kuruni, Faskuruni waskurkum. If you remember me, then I will remember you. Washkuruli wala takfurun. And be thankful to me and do not be ungrateful to me. So imagine example. If the person is remembered by president say, I remember that man, call him. The person is thinking, oh, I am very lucky man. The president is remembering me. He's thinking of me. What is the greatness? When Allah said in the Quran, Faskuruni waskurkum. So remember me, I remember you. Subhanallah. The King of the kings. The owner of the universe. Our creator, our Lord, our master, to whom we love. To whom we do everything. And he said, you remember me, I remember you. Subhanallah. Allah is remembering us. And how close Allah to us? People they think, where is Allah? Allah said in the Quran, نَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. We are closer to you more than your jugular vein. Our jugular vein, Allah is closer to us and our jugular vein. Allah is closer to us than ourselves. Allah is closer to us than ourselves. You remember Him in the heart, in your mind, in your words. Allah is listening to you and is answering for that. Allah said, when my slave and he called upon me, I answered. He's Al-Mujib. And He answered in 3 different ways. When you ask Allah, Allah give me this one. The first is Allah give it to you right away. The second way, when Allah said that what He's asking my slave is not good for him right now, then Allah will give to him when it is the right time for him. And if Allah will see that what my slave is asking me is not good for him in this world, then Allah will give him for that what he pray in the next life, in the hereafter, in the paradise. I just give this last example and then finished. It's already 1 o'clock. A person asked Allah, oh Allah, make me rich. He's very poor. Mahirap siya. Oh Allah, make me rich. Now Allah knows that this person is a weak iman, weak faith. Once he gets rich, he become arrogant. And the Prophet said the arrogant cannot smell the paradise. Cannot even smell the paradise. Mayaban. He has a weak faith. Once he become rich, he will become arrogant. So Allah will not make him rich right now. Allah will let him to be trial. And when he become a strong believer, then Allah will make him rich that time. So he will not be going to be fall in the trap of shaitan, to become arrogant. And if Allah will see that this my slave to whom Allah love, that this man is a weak believer and becoming rich is not good for him in this life, because that can cause him to trap by shaitan, to become arrogant, so he will be forbidden to go to paradise. So Allah will not make him rich in this world, but Allah will give the reward for this supplication in the next life. So every prayer of the believer is answered by Allah. He listened and he answered. So what we are doing now here, inshallah, our commitment here, as Allah said, is standing, sit down and lying down, remembering Allah, day and night. Not only with our words, with our hearts and with our actions. With our actions, halal. Eat halal, drink halal, business halal, no cheating, no hiding, no lying. Do ourselves completely remembering of Allah with all our self, with our words, with our hearts and with our limbs. And especially we can put our 2 times devoted to Allah, inshallah. People, those who are in this masjid, I encourage them, if you are in the masjid of Maghrib time, make gathering. It's also good in the Quran that you gather and you make zikr collectively. Or if you want individually, go in this corner, go in that corner, go that corner, rather to make some talking nonsense. Remember Allah. If you can do it until Isha, the best. If you can do it for 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but do it permanent. In Islam, not like this. You do today, 1 hour, tomorrow is finished. Do continuously until we die. Whatever we do, we have to do it, stable it. Allah like, the Prophet said, Allah like the stable, not unstable. Do little, but do for good until we are in this world. May Allah guide us, may Allah help us. Inna Allah wa malaikatu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار آمين. Our Lord, give us good in this world, good in the hereafter, save us from hellfire. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك وجنة الفردوس ونعوذ بك من سخطك وعذاب النار آمين. Our Lord, O Allah, give us your happiness and enter to us in Jannat al-Firdaus in paradise. O Allah, save us from your anger and save us from hellfire. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب آمين. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا واخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين آمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين.